going? It's John Duke with Union Home Mortgage. I'm here with, as always, Brian Osben with Bella Bay Realty. And today we actually have Kyle Laurent from Laurent Agency. He's a Farm Bureau agent here in the Lansing area. First of all, we're at Ryan's Roadhouse in St. John's. Awesome establishment. This place is fantastic.
Great food.
The food's great. Beer's cold, as always. I want to talk. We all want to talk about some things that go into the purchase of a new home, and particularly today, it's about insurance. But there's two types of insurance that I don't want to confuse with one another. One is private mortgage insurance, which I get talked about a lot, being on the mortgage side. Private mortgage insurance is an insurance for the lender when the buyer puts down routinely less than 20%. It ensures against foreclosures and any types of default. What we're here to mostly talk about today is homeowners insurance. I know, Brian, you had a couple questions for Kyle, and I'm going to pick up after you're done, too.
Appreciate you coming, Kyle.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
The importance of homeowners insurance to a homeowner, whether they have a mortgage on the home or not, obviously we're talking more with mortgaged homes, but whether they do or don't, what's the importance of having homeowners insurance? What is it? What's the benefit?
Yeah. Thanks again for having me, guys. Number one, typically when you're doing lending or financing, it's going to be a requirement. The bank wants to protect their investment. That's collateral that they're going to have. Number two, for most people, it's going to be their biggest investment, right, of your life, right? You're buying hundreds of thousands of dollars putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into a house that you're going to call your homestead, and you want to take care of. You want to protect it from the catastrophic events that could potentially happen. Hopefully they don't, right? So those are the two main reasons why it's important. Again, I said catastrophic events. So your major events, fire. Think of something that's big and major that's going to cost not $1,000. It's going to cost hundreds or tens of thousands of dollars. So not everybody has the ability to just say, "Oh, I can fix that out of pocket," right? So that's when you go to your insurance. So it's not necessarily the maintenance policy. It's set up for the major events.
So there's been a lot of talk recently when it comes to homeowners insurance about the premiums.
Yep.
And they talk about rising tide lifts all ships, and it's become something of a major expense.
Yep.
What has led to that?
So there's a lot of factors, and I can't speak for the carrier specifically, but every carrier, insurance is the law of large numbers, right? So basically you're taking everybody's premium dollars and putting into a pot, and then every year you're paying out claims. Yeah. So that's how the insurance companies try to determine from an actuarial standpoint of how much premium are we collecting and how can we make sure we're paying out the right amount of dollars to pay those claims. So a lot of the factors that go into it is your increased cost of labor continues to go up. Materials are continuing to go up, and fraud is still a thing that is in the air, and so that contribute other people's claims are going to affect your premium dollars, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's many things that go into that calculation of how they're determining the rate.
So when you talk about the rate, somebody's score, we have an insurance score. You've talked to me about that.
Yep.
You've done my insurance for well over a decade now.
Yep.
What can a new homeowner or a buyer of a real estate do to improve their insurance score to make their premium less?
So, an insurance score is not truly a credit score necessarily. Right. It's considered, I know it's a factor, but every company is going to have an algorithm that they kind of determine what their loss exposure is with that individual. We're insuring, the carrier's looking at, the location, the territory, the condition of the house, the age of the house. Insurance score is just a huge discount that is offered, and the better the insurance score, the higher the discount. So to coach someone, as far as it's kind of like you coaching someone on from a mortgage standpoint, of don't start opening a bunch of lines of credit when you're applying for a mortgage. Don't go buy new vehicles. Again, it's not an insurance score, is not a credit score, but those things will affect exposures, because we want to make sure, essentially from a carrier standpoint, that we're going to get that premium.
Yeah.
If you have all these lines of credit open, it's going to be, the thought is less likely to get that premium.
Right. That's good to know.
And
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and we're on when you think about premium, if you're paying, a couple $1,000s a year or $1,500 a year in premium, what's the insurance company on the hook for? You're going to pay, if you think, from an expense standpoint, you're paying $1,500. Well, what are you getting? And you're getting, if you bought a $300,000 house, we take $1,500, that house burns down tomorrow, we're on the hook not for 300 grand, but then you got coverage for your personal property built in, so that's another 100 plus grand. Then you got debris removal, that's more money that's coming out there. There's a liability exposure that we're on the hook for $500,000 to $1 million. So we're on the hook for a lot of coverage that we're extending for a small amount of premium at the end of the day.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I didn't put that. It's putting it in perspective.
yeah.
So when you're listing a house,
Yeah.
and you go in, and somebody's had flood insurance, they know it, right?
Absolutely.
They
They should
kn-
know it.
They should know.
That's a good premium.
And that's something that's disclosed to a potential buyer that the current has flood insurance.
If it's disclosed to me, it's getting disclosed to the buyer.
Right, 100%.
Absolutely.
Tell us about flood insurance and how prevalent and how can somebody limit the amount they're paying a premium? Because I know if they go through FEMA, it's crazy the amount that they're going to pay.
Right.
So you guys can offer as a third party too as well.
Correct. We can offer it through FEMA, through that program. We can offer it through private flood insurance, that market. And it really, there's no magic wand to get that premium down at all.
Yeah.
It's all going to be based on the flood zone that you're in. Again, that's going to also come down to, does the mortgage require it or not? Because if it's in a flood zone, the mortgage is always going to require it.
Sure.
If any part of that, the dwelling or the structure on the property if the flood zone hits any corner of it, any part of it, boom, you're going to require to have flood insurance. And flood insurance is going to be required by the mortgage to cover the balance, right?
Yep.
So depending on how much you're financing, it's going to dictate, how much coverage you need, which is going to also affect the premium.
Yep.
Now, what you can do is, in theory, a flood, if you're in an area where your flood exposure is not huge, you can carry a higher deductible on a flood insurance policy, like 10 grand versus your normal $1,000 deductible on a homeowner's policy.
Right.
So that's a way to kind of get it down, but there's really no magic trick to keep it lower if you're in one of the flood zones that it's high risk, and
Right.
it really can make or break a deal sometimes, I think, Brian, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So a big value add for Farm Bureau, and to give you a little bit of a plug as a company and yourself as well, is that you're really only doing business in Michigan, right?
Correct, yes.
And-
Each Farm Bureau is individually owned and operated based on the state.
We don't have a lot of hurricanes here.
No,
We don't have a lot of hurricanes, not a lot of wildfires. We have a few, but nothing like we've seen in California. So
Sure.
what I've noticed sometimes quite often is that the premiums through Farm Bureau, because of their exposure, can be a lot more beneficial to the client. Is that not correct?
partially, yeah. We don't have that in our claims directly in Michigan. It all kind of, hurricanes, and it all is going to affect the insurance industry as a
Sure.
whole, because an insurance company is also buying insurance in addition to protect
reinsurance,
themselves.
yep.
So it's a reinsurance thing, which is something I won't go too deep into. But so the reinsurance costs have significantly gone up, which has also caused the industry as a whole to take increase in rate.
Yep.
So that's a big thing. But yes, you're partially correct as far as we're not directly impacted as a carrier with those impacts, like a company that's nationwide that's dealing with Florida, California wildfires, that type of stuff.
Yeah. So the key to this whole conversation is education. It's education as to what goes in. It's not just the mortgage and the payment. There are other things that go in to making the payment and budgeting for the homeowner, right? And these are questions that we get. You get them as a realtor. Obviously, we direct our business to people that we trust in these, as providers. And so I urge all of our homeowners, all of our new clients to shop and to be a good suitor of their own
And
finances.
in most cases, understand that insurance premium is going to be built into your monthly payment.
Correct.
It's 90%, 99% of the time going to be part of your monthly payment.
Yep.
Not something you can pay when you want or get when you want. It's going to be a requirement. So if you're using a mortgage calculator on any app or something like that, make sure you're including some sort of a monthly premium for that.
Yeah. Key here: private mortgage insurance, homeowners insurance, two different things, often both included in the payment. Call us anytime with any questions about it. How do they reach you, Kyle?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me. And again, I just want to be a resource for you. You're not going to get a hard sell from me. You're going to get, here's what it is. Here's how I can help. Here's my advice to you, protecting your biggest asset that you have. So it's something that is just a conversation. So you can get a hold of me at 517-668-1600. is the office, or by email, and I'll provide that information to you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, great conversation.
Yeah,
We're going to
likewise.
continue to educate people about costs and effects of home ownership, and it's going to be a great market this year.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Thanks.
Yeah, 65 for the Galaxy 500 self-converted.
He insured my truck to his deer twice. Not the same. I'm going to assure you it's not the same deer.
No.
Nope.
I love it.